So depending on what your quadrants are, you're filtering me and everything through this in a particular way, which is fine. And so what you have to get really good at is knowing and spotting the people's clues, spotting behavioral clues, verbal clues, physical clues, so that you can do that. So is anyone interested in doing that? Because we have 15 more minutes.
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay. So welcome to the left top quadrant of your brain, which is called the L1, right? So it's left hemisphere, and it's this front top quadrant. This is the quadrant that we all have that is responsible for right and wrong, good and bad, better or worse. It's the logic, it's the accuracy, it's our reason. It's the quadrant that we all have that is responsible for what is the outcome, what are we here to do, what is the objective. So it's all the what, right? So that's why like what is big and highlighted, because everything comes down to what. From a gesture point of view, people with a very high L1 will have lots of power gestures. They will be power dressed, right? It will be like minimal distractions. It will be, what is the research? What's the data? What is what's the real rationale behind this? So it's all what. Anyone relate to the what?
Yep.
Right. Then we go all the way over to this side of the brain, right, which is totally different hemisphere, R1. It's all about the why. Why are we doing this? And it's about being curious and about the big picture and about the possibilities. And these are the people that don't finish their sentence because they're constantly looking for alternatives and they like options and they're flexible. So they don't like to be bogged down. But remember, it's not the person, it's the quadrant. It's all of us have this part of our brain that is responsible. Its primary function is to look for alternatives. So it's shiny object syndrome. It's you having your laptop or your computer open with like 1,000 tabs and you're jumping and you're going this tab and then you're like, shit, I forgot to phone this person. Then you phone that person and then you email the person and then the email reminds you have to do something else. So you're going on very connected tangents because your brain is very simultaneous in this particular area and unstructured and holistic. So everything fits together and has a purpose and there's a reason why I'm doing this. So when you sit down, when we go back out there, right, when I'm all done, and you go, hi, I'm so-and-so, nice to meet you. And they go, so what's your story and why are you here? Ooh, that's interesting, the what and the why. That's probably one of their biggest preferences is the what and the why. So now you're not going to go into a whole spiel about who you are. Which one is next? Can't remember. Okay, we're going to go to this side of the brain quickly. Sequence, right? So this is L2. Welcome to sequence. How are we doing? When are we going to do it by? So this is the part of the brain. It's the bottom part of the hemisphere, left hemisphere. It's the most reptilian of our hemispheres. So it's the part of our brain, like the bottom right, that wants to preserve all things. Like it wants to preserve tradition, it wants to be conservative, doesn't want to take risks, it wants to be cautious, wants to, right? So now think of clients that you have sitting in front of you and they're like, well, how long is this investment going to take to grow? Or like, what is the process for this? How am I going to know when am I going to get my return? What are the guarantees on this? So if they're concerned and they want all the details and they want every single final tiny minutia of detail, you know you have an L2 on your hands. If they want guarantees, if they want you to tell them how it's going to work, and if they want everything planned out and structured and sequential and step by step, and if they're punctual and they get a tiz because you're a little bit late, okay, we have an L2. So it's time to provide more detail, provide a step by step, tell them how you're going to do things, tell them when you're going to do it by, tell them how long the process is going to be, tell them all the little details to make that part of their brain happy. Interesting?
Yes.
Good. Now we're going to the other side. Whoops. Going to the other side, which is the R2. So the R2 part of the brain, again, most reptilian, and it tells people, it doesn't tell people, it's all about people. So this is the expressive, emotional, it's all about, camaraderie and high touch and expressiveness, and so very much how I've performed, so to speak, tonight, right? And if you think about Handy's suggestion tonight, it was who else can add value to your business? Present on who you would like to add to your business or who you can add value to. So that was a very R2 suggestion, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? So you've got to start to really pick up these clues, because if you're very R2 in nature, and R2 is like to be comfortable, it's the part of the brain. It's not a boxing like label of a person, but it's the part of the brain that likes to be fair, and oh my goodness, is everyone okay? And the team needs to perform well together, and let's be sensitive and collaborate. If you're talking with those kinds of words to an L1 leader, for example, and he's like, get to the point, what's the bottom line? You know, you guys haven't been performing, you're not making sales, you're not on target, and this little R2's in the corner like, but that's just not fair, they haven't had time to, right? Like, you're not gonna build rapport with that person. So this, unfortunately, R2 person is going to have to learn how to get really kind of in like L1 mode, which is possible. Why? Why do you think it's possible? Because we all have that part of our brain, exactly, which is why this is so flippin' amazing. So you might not have like a big muscle, a big L1 muscle, but guess what? You're going to have to start picking up some weights and like doing some reps and start doing some deadlifts so that you can, in a meeting to build rapport with someone, put on your suit, get your power gesture, say, this is the bottom line, it's not fair. So then you can lead with your primary quadrant. You can say, it's not fair, they didn't have time to do it, or not everyone's working well together, the dynamic is blah, blah, blah. But you're leading with the person's primary quadrant, which catches their attention. Remember, guys, marketing is not just on a brochure. It's not just on a card. It's not just like, here's my business card. My card's going to do the marketing. You are a walking, talking marketing machine. And if you are not appealing and building rapport with your audience or with potential customers or educating them, and you're not listening and learning the clues and responding, you're not effectively magnetizing your marketing. You're repelling people because they're like, oh my God, here comes the R2, like wants to just talk about like people all the time. I don't have time for that. Does it make sense? Yeah. Or you're the R2 that's like,
I don't want to be R2 anymore.
Well, I'm going to show you why you're not always R2. So we have multiple quadrants and we have a whole brain. Okay, so you can now imagine, right, like why I said this was the magic for my marriage, because we were not married at the time and I didn't think we were going to get married because Ryan and I were so drastically different. And I really got to the point where I was like, he just doesn't get it. Like, he doesn't get that we are so, he wanted me to go every single weekend. He wanted to go out with people, and he wanted to go to what we call braais, barbecues. He wanted to go to braais and barbecues and be social. And I am on the Myers-Briggs, which I'm not really a fan of, but I'm a raging introvert. Raging introvert. You will find me at home with my puppy under a blanket at all times. But when I'm like this, right? You're gonna have to guess my quadrants. This is your task. Homework is guess Carrie's quadrants by the end of this presentation. I'm not gonna tell you. Well, I might tell you. That might be the next slide.